Cairo. It sounds now like from Barbara's reporting, that's what General Petraeus, Director then Petraeus, went up to Capitol Hill and said. Of course, over time, it became pretty clear, and I think pretty quickly, that this was a terrorist attack. Regardless of what its motivation had been, it had been an attack by Ansar al-Sharia. And I think that there is a real sense of frustration on the Hill. Whatever motivated it is less important to them than who did it, and they want absolute clarity about that. And I think Director Petraeus, for his own credibility up on Capitol Hill, was going to give that to them.
You didn't have to be an intelligence genius to figure out that an attack on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi on the 11th anniversary of 9/11 was a terrorist operation. I mean, I said it that day, the next day when I had Mike Rogers, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, on this show. We both said, you know, this is too coincidental. This is not just a spontaneous thing.
And especially with 2 attempts previously at that consulate.
Right.
Plus, that doesn't even get you to the attack on the UK ambassador.
And it also raises the question now that we're learning that Petraeus is going to be clarifying his remarks tomorrow. Is this going to serve as proof that the CIA somehow, it was a poorly executed investigation, or they did a really poor job of communicating early on, or maybe they shouldn't have communicated early on until they knew better what the story was?
Well, what this is further, just yet another example of, Kate, is in the heat of battle, when something erupts, you look at all the intelligence sources. You're looking at videos, you're looking at signals intelligence, things that you collected, pictures, drones, and you're trying to put all that together and sort through the inconsistencies. It's as you suggest, until you've had the opportunity to do that, you've got to be pretty careful about drawing conclusions.
I want you to stick around for a moment because they're about to emerge from the Senate Intelligence Committee, the chair, Dianne Feinstein, the ranking Republican, Saxby Chambliss. We're going to hear what they have to say because they've been getting some classified information. Stand by. There's a lot going on. We'll take a quick break. We'll have live coverage of what they have to say right after this. All right, look at live pictures from Capitol Hill. The chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Dianne Feinstein, the ranking Republican member, Saxby Chambliss of Georgia. They're both expected to walk out momentarily. They've been in there for the last several hours getting briefed on what happened in Benghazi on September 11th when the U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens was killed along with 3 other Americans. We'll have live coverage as soon as they get to the podium. Fran Townsend is still with us. Kate Baldwin, of course, is here as well. The video that they saw, the surveillance video that members of the Senate and the House have seen now, shows the U.S. Ambassador Christine actually being physically dragged out of the Benghazi diplomatic compound. And we don't know, though, is he alive or dead in this video? Is that what have you heard?
You know, it's interesting, Wolf. I hadn't realized that the video that they were going to show included that very sensitive, obvious piece of Ambassador Chris Stevens. And truthfully, I was surprised. But my real first thought, yes, you'd like to know, can you tell if he's alive? It's unlikely, I suspect. But my first thought was with his family. Did the U.S. government reach out to Chris Stevens' family and ask them if they wanted to see it before it was shown to all these other people as part of the oversight process? Not that it would have stopped them, but you want to give this family, the president himself has promised them to have updates and to keep them well informed. And I sure hope, before this is shown to a whole bunch of members of Congress, that the family at least had an opportunity. They were informed and would have had an opportunity to say whether or not they wanted to see it.
Coming from the CIA, from that position when they're in there briefing them, what is the benefit of showing these members of Congress this surveillance video? What's the point that they're trying to assist with in showing this video?
Well, they have an oversight responsibility. The members of Congress have an oversight role, and so they were entitled to see what was the information that the intelligence community, the CIA in particular, were relying on when they began to draw their conclusions. What were they looking at? It's a way of testing the credibility, frankly, of the intelligence community's conclusions.
The other story we're watching, obviously, is the continued investigation into this whole General Petraeus affair that's going on. Let me read to you a statement that the CIA spokesman put out today. At the CIA, we are constantly reviewing our performance. If there are lessons to be learned from this case, we'll use them to improve. But we're not getting ahead of ourselves. An investigation is exploratory and doesn't presuppose any particular outcome. So there is an exploratory committee going on within the CIA about what happened. Explain this, give us some perspective.
Sure. The key there is lessons to be learned, right? So after the tragedy at the Coast Base where there were CIA officers killed, there was a lessons learned review. You look at everyone's conduct, everyone both directly involved and on the periphery of it, at headquarters all the way around, and say, how could we have prevented this? How could we have known about it? The interesting thing about the notion that it doesn't presuppose an outcome.
Hold on a second. Here comes Senator Feinstein, Saxby Chambliss. They're walking in. See, they were just stopped for a second, but they're going to be making a statement. I want to listen in what the chair of the Intelligence Committee says.
I'm here with our Vice Chairman, Senator Chambliss of Georgia, and we have just had a very lengthy first inquiry. We had virtually all members of the committee there except for one. We saw a real-time film put together by NCTC of exactly what happened. We had the opportunity to question the DNI, the Acting Director of Intelligence, General Roberson from the Joint Chiefs, Pat Kennedy, the ambassador who heads the security aspects of the State Department. I'm not going to tell you what questions were asked or what answers were given. This is just the first step in the inquiry. We will meet, as you all know, with former Director Petraeus in the morning, and then we will resume the week we come back with another 2 full hearings, and then we anticipate that we will have a public hearing, and at that time make our findings that can be unclassified released. I think it was a good hearing. I think it gave us an idea as to the depth and breadth of this, of future areas to question, and we will just continue to do so and plow through this until we believe we have enough information to make some findings. Vice Chairman?
2 things I take away from this hearing today is that, number one, were mistakes made? Gosh, we know mistakes were made, and we've got to learn from that. And our membership asked some very hard and very tough questions of our witnesses today, and we're going to continue to do that in our subsequent hearings, which the chairman has outlined. Secondly, what was again highlighted is the professionalism of our men and women who are in the Intelligence Committee and who are in the armed services, who were involved here, obviously, as well as in the State Department. There were some very heroic acts that took place. That does not in any way minimize, obviously, the fact that we lost 4 Americans. And at the end of the day, our committee is going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to do it in a classified way to the extent we need to. But at the end of the day, as Chairman Feinstein says, we're going to have a public hearing where the American people are going to have the opportunity to see the questions asked and get the answers to questions that they have had since September 11 of this year.
I'd like to expand on something that the Vice Chairman said. This is a very difficult area of the world. People who participate in the intelligence services that cover this area of the world, I think, have great difficulty. It's a different culture, it's a different language, it's a different dialect. The countries are troubled from within. There's a great deal of instability. So it's a very precipitous situation. And on behalf of the whole committee, I really want to thank them. This is a huge community doing the best they can. And this isn't the days of, KGB, CIA, intelligence. It's a whole new world and an extraordinarily difficult one. And as the Vice Chairman said, we very much appreciate their service. And it's very easy to criticize. It's very hard to be out there and put this all together.
Senator, can you characterize in any way the films that you saw? I understand it's classified information. Can you characterize in any way the films that you saw? And secondly, can you tell us when the intelligence community got their hands on that film to help us with the timeline of what they knew or when they knew it?
No, I think I can't help you with the actual timeline that this was put together. The film is a composite from a number of sources. It is real time. It does begin from when the incident, before the incident started, and it goes through the incident and the exodus. I don't think I should say any more at this time, but yes, it does. I'm sorry? I'm just not going to comment.
Looking to tomorrow, what do you expect to hear from David Petraeus that you could not get from an agency standpoint, that you could not get from acting director Morrell today? Well,
Director Petraeus went to Tripoli. He interviewed many of the people, as I understand it, that were involved. And so the opportunity to get his views, I think, is very important. I think, and this is not to criticize anybody today, because people were very fulsome in what they said, and we had a good back and forth, and it was not always the easiest thing, I'm sure, for everybody that was testifying, but we learned a great deal.
All right, so Senator Feinstein wrapping up an important hearing, and they're going to continue tomorrow morning. You just heard her say General David Petraeus, the now former CIA director, will appear as well. Fran Townsend's here with Kate and me. What did you think? Did you learn anything from what you just said?
No, look, I think they've been very, very careful. We now understand that in addition to sort of drone video, there was a composite put together so they could watch it from beginning to end. That actually was very important, that Senator Feinstein said it started before the attack began. So once you've watched this, there is not going to be there will at some point be no further dispute as to whether or not there was a protest that kicked this thing off. I mean, that's sort of been dissolving over time. I think this video is going to put at least that piece to rest.
And we'll see if they ever make this video available to the American
There will be a public hearing, but still
in some sort of sanitized version or whatever. Fran, thanks very much. We're going to take you through the timeline of who knew what and when in the Benghazi attack when we come back.